So a question I had about this movie when I first saw the trailer was whether or not this was going to be in the same universe as Who Framed Roger Rabbit. For one, it brought back the idea of cartoon characters coexisting with people in the real world, and secondly, Roger himself made an appearance after 34 years. With the movie now out and me having seen it, I'm 90% convinced that it is. Now, before listening to the rest of this video, it would probably be better if you've seen both this movie and Who Framed Roger Rabbit yourself, or at the very least know the story and the plot of both movies for this to make more sense. Now, obviously the first thing that would come to mind is the fact that Roger himself cameos in this movie, right? Mystery solved. Well, yes, but actually no. While it's easy to think that at first, given how in this movie they also portray Toons as just actors, it's pretty easy to say that this isn't the Roger that worked with Eddie Valiant to save Toontown, but an actor playing an actor. AKA in this universe, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is also just a movie that starred Roger. See, what really cements the link between these two movie universes is not Roger, but a single, tiny Easter egg that lasts for a few seconds. In the scene where Sweet Pete is Chip tied up in his lair and is searching through various torturing tools to use on him, one of those torturing tools in his possession is a small vial of dip. Dip, of course, was the substance used by Judge Doom in Who Framed Roger Rabbit that had the capability to kill hand-drawn Toons.
What's that? Remember how we always thought there wasn't a way to kill a Toon? Well, Doom found the way. Turpentine, acetone, benzene. He calls it the dip.
And execute him.
Given the same green color and olden look, this is very likely that same dip. And here's what's interesting to me. I mentioned earlier that Roger could very well just be an actor like Chip and Dale that had his own movie. And if that's the case, then that would mean that the dip used in the movie was obviously just a prop, right? I mean, why would the studio not only risk the lives of their Toon actors, but actually murder one of them on set? Unless laws involving Toons were a lot less strict in the 80s and they had a really hardcore film crew, that doesn't make sense. So in that case, why would Sweet Pete be carrying a film prop as a torturing tool? Now you could say that he somehow made his own concoction and named it the same thing as inspiration from the movie, but what I think is the more likely scenario is that this is that same dip concocted by Judge Doom 75 years prior. It makes sense because, as I mentioned earlier, it has that old look to it, as if it came from a time period like 1947, the year Who Framed Roger Rabbit takes place. You think that if he made it himself he'd have a lot more lying around and probably wouldn't keep it in an old small vial sealed by a cork. Given the context of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, they likely banned or kept dip under high security after the incident with Judge Doom to prevent illegal use, and Sweet Pete managed to get his hands on a leftover sample, which he's using, well, illegally. Which explains why it's so small. This single quick Easter egg is what really makes me believe that these two movie universes are connected. But there's also a lot of secondary connections as well. Throughout the movie they specifically use the term Toons when referring to all of the non-human characters, same as in Roger Rabbit.
I made lots of money, so I recruited other Toons to star in more movies.
Yeah, of course not. Why would there be? 6 missing Toons in a month and not one clue. Look!
Toons.
So what's his problem?
Toon killed his brother.
What? Huh?
Not only that, but the movie shares a lot of the same themes. You have a world where multiple cartoon characters live as real people, with said characters only being actors. Both are crossover movies with a large number of character cameos from multiple companies. Not to mention, this is the second film to have both the Looney Tunes and Disney characters in the same movie. The two movies have similar openings, with the characters enacting their shows only to be revealed as a film set. They're both crime-themed stories that involve detective work on mishappenings with Toons. The main villains are revealed to be Toons themselves and have a chaotic fight between the protagonists using various Toon weaponry. The fight scene between Captain Putty and Ellie is very reminiscent of the fight between Judge Doom and Eddie. And they even end the same, with a barrage of different Toons on the crime scene after saving the day. Hell, I just realized that Ellie is just Eddie with 2 L's instead of 2 D's, and they're both cops who help the Toon protagonists throughout the movie. If these striking similarities don't say anything to you, then I don't know what does. Now, at the end of the day, this is all just my own theory. But with the dip, and all of the similarities between these two movies, I'm honestly 90% convinced that this movie is a subtle sequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Living the dream, high on the hog, all night long dancing the Roger Rabbit with Roger Rabbit.
Boy, what a party!